All right. Well, thank you for joining us. This is because you are ready or going to become ready to take your actives business into your own hands. So, we've noticed for a long time that the people that make the money in this industry are the people that are in front of the room. They're the people that are leading the charge, that are in home after home or on the phone call after phone call. They're the ones that are taking ownership and really treating it like a business. So if you're taking this step, it's because you're ready to jump into a little bit different arena and ready to earn the big bucks. If you're making the decisions and you're the one that's leading the way, it's just like being the CEO. I mean, you do own your own company after all. So might as well make it a big company versus just a little hole in the wall. So, okay, that being said, there are a couple different schools of thought on presenting in this industry. We were told a long, long time ago by a man who's made literally millions of dollars a year for about 30 years. It's if you can find a company and get in early and ride it for a long, long, long time, it's wealth beyond what you can even imagine. And one of our mentors is living that life. He literally owns a compound and has a covered bridge and has a moat and swans and like if you can dream it, he's got it. That's what happens when you're in a business that lasts for decades, and we're entering that path. So he taught us a long time ago. He said, you want to make sure that you tell your story, the company's story, and how the money's made. It's very, very basic information. So you always want to bring a little bit of yourself to the conversation. Not too much. People aren't there to hear your back history, but they want to know that you're real. They want to know that you are connecting with them on some level. So don't be afraid to bring a little bit of your story into the presentation. Then you want to tell the company story. And we learned a long time ago that there are 5 really important factors. I've run into people that understand the technical terms. They call it the KPIs, the key performance indicators of a company. And that would be the company, the product, and I do want you to write these down because this is going to be your litmus for your kind of your roadmap. So company, product, timing, compensation, and system. One more time, make sure you got them all. Company, product, timing, compensation, system. So once you understand those 5 principles, you can do a presentation at the drop of a hat once you start to figure out what your bullet points are under each of those categories. When I first went on my very first road trip, this was probably 2 decades ago, I saved up some money and I took a plane with a friend and we went to Utah to talk to a doctor that she knew. And I thought I had arrived. I thought I'd hit the big leagues. And I was out on my own and I was doing presentations and I was just getting my feet wet like a lot of you are right now. And I was there. And we got into this office. She had an appointment with this doctor and he'd made a little bit of time for us, knew we were coming. She didn't make a doctor appointment. She made an appointment to talk business with him. Just a side note there. But we got in there and it was just me and her, and we were like 20 something and just kind of naive, I guess. And he totally took advantage of that. And he sat us down in 2 chairs in front of this big old desk. And he came around to the front of the desk and he leaned against the desk and he folded his arms and he said, okay, you have 5 minutes. And in my head, I'm thinking, I just paid a lot of money for an airline ticket to come talk to you. And you're going to give me 5 minutes? I had my whole presentation planned, right? I was ready. And I had 5 minutes. So I kind of did a quick evaluation and thought, okay, well, there's 5 things I want to talk about, the 5 things we just talked about. And I gave each of them 1 minute. I talked to him for a minute about the company, a minute about the products, a minute about the timing, a minute about the system and the compensation plan. And I just 5 minutes and I closed my book and I stood up to shake his hand and he said, sit back down. And he went around the other side of his desk and sat down and proceeded to ask us questions and was curious for the next hour. I think because I had had the confidence to meet him where he was at. He was having the power play. He was the one that was trying to make us feel small, put us in our chairs and kind of be up and over us and have the power position. And because I had confidence and because I had those 5 things and I could talk about them for a minute, I got his attention. So one other really, really critical thing that I want you to take away from this story is he who has the strongest belief will win the conversation. When I walked into the room, he thought he had it. With that 5 minutes, I got his attention and he realized I knew more about what I was talking about than he did. And he all of a sudden became the student. Any conversation you're in, you need to be the one with the most belief. You don't have to be the one with all the answers. You don't have to be the one that knows everything about all the details of the products or how to say the names of tetrahydrocurcumin. You just have to have belief that what you have absolutely will bless them. And if you believe that, and what you're saying is genuine and from your heart, you'll get through to people. And even if you don't have all the answers, you can't say enough of the wrong things to the right person. And if they can feel your genuineness and your heart, they will go find the rest of their answers. I've told some of you the story of a mentor of ours that used to work for Nu Skin. He was the legal counsel for Nu Skin. And one day a young man, probably about 19 years old, marched into his office and proceeded to tell him about a network marketing company. Can you imagine going to the legal counsel of $1 billion network marketing company and trying to recruit their lawyer? The courage this young man had is phenomenal. But because he had the belief to do it, he didn't have a clue what he was talking about. His presentation was terrible. But the lawyer got curious and called the CEO of the company that this kid was telling him about, got the information that he needed and got his questions answered, and joined the company under this kid and proceeded to create $1 million+ business underneath this young man. So it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what your credibility is. It doesn't matter what your background is. It matters that you have the courage and the belief in what you're carrying, that comes across in your conversation. If you're talking about it like a puppy with its tail between its legs, no one's going to believe you and no one wants to be in business with you. Even though we have the most incredible products, the most incredible business, they're not going to feel it and they're not going to get it. So if you have any question in what you're doing, make sure you're practicing in front of the mirror. Make sure you're practicing riding in the car. Make sure you're practicing enough times that you start to build the courage, because it's not about you. It's about the message that you carry, and it's about the person that you're talking to finding each other so that it can bless that person's life. They're not thinking about you. They're listening to what you're saying, if you believe in what you're saying, and they're thinking about how it's going to bless them. They're thinking about, could this really help my health? Could this be the answer that we were praying for so hard last night, trying to figure out what we're going to do financially? Could this be the answer for me? They're thinking about them most of the time. Now, if you don't believe in what you're saying, they won't either. If you don't have courage and confidence, they're not going to listen enough to know how it can help them. So it's important that you believe in your message. You may not believe in you, but if you believe in your message, it's enough. Okay, so that being said, we're going to go through the PowerPoint that I usually use. You don't have to use this. You can create your own. You can put your own information together, but it needs to cover to some degree the company, the products, the timing, the system, compensation. Make sure you get all 5 factors, because if you don't, and you only lead with products and you don't tell them about the business, you're going to get customers. If you don't cover enough of the factors, you leave people with not enough information, and not enough information usually leads to the wrong decision. So don't present an opportunity presentation to somebody who you meet in an elevator when you're both going to go separate ways in 2 minutes, unless you can cover all 5 factors really, really powerfully in 2 minutes. And I'm not going to say it can't be done. I did it in 5. I haven't tried it in 2. So if you're making sure that you're covering all the things, you probably could do an elevator pitch, but don't just blindly throw yourself into a presentation that you can't get through, because they're going to make a decision based on not enough information unless you've planned it and know that you can do it in 2 minutes. Otherwise, the rule of thumb is when you meet somebody, you set them up to see the information properly. And that can be done through the presentation at activespresentation.com. They can just watch it whenever it's convenient. You can put them in front of a person that is ready, or if you're ready to show the whole presentation, don't start it until you're ready and have their captive attention to be able to get through the whole thing. Or you're putting them on the phone with somebody, or you're the person you're getting on the phone with. So that being said, if you want to use this presentation, you can. I want you to kind of just use this as your template for right now. And then if you want to go a different direction and create your own, that's fine. This one is available on actives.info. You can print it off and have it in a book. I don't know where mine is. I always have it close. It's just in a binder, and I have it in flip chart format. If you want to do it right now, mine are pictures back to back, but if you do it so it's just one picture per plastic sleeve, you can actually write on the back of the paper and write your bullet points, write your notes. So you can literally hold the picture up, they're looking at the picture, you're looking at the cheat sheet on the back, and you can literally do your presentation that way. You don't have to do it with my words, you can do it with your own. But I want you to just kind of look at this, and actually let's go into a little bit bigger mode here. So this one's set up so you can pretty much just read it. But if you have something in your life that's personal that you can throw in here, this is a good time to throw in something personal. My husband, Eric, was offered the chance to buy Bitcoin when it was 3 cents. If we would have put $1,000 into it, I don't even know what it would be worth today. I haven't bothered to do the math because I really don't want to know. But that was an opportunity missed. And we have opportunities every day that are around us. If you knew which was the next website that was going to take off, the next .com that was going to take off, the next stock that was going to take off, we all have opportunity around us all the time. But how do you predict what the next $1 million, $1 billion, or $1 trillion breakthrough is going to be? And I left that $sign in there so that you can build on it. $1 million, $1 billion, $1 trillion, and get them thinking. Because there are $1 trillion opportunities out there, and every once in a while somebody gets in front of one of them and all of a sudden is working with Tesla or is working with the next breakthrough thing. But how do you predict it? So this is just a slide to help people think. Almost everybody's had something that they've missed an opportunity and they wish they wouldn't have. So this is just a slide to get them thinking. This one also we can pretty much read, but you need to understand that this medal is given to people who change all of humanity. That's kind of a key point. If you think some of the names on this list, the ones I touch on are Alexander Graham Bell, Orville Wright, Henry Ford, because everybody's life is affected by the telephone, the airplane, the automobile. I always use the analogy that everybody has a phone within reach. We all pretty much have one right at our fingertips at any given time. If you could get in front of one of those 3 inventions, would it have made a financial impact on your family? And this one you can pretty much just, look at the names on the list, remember some key points, and talk about this medal. Well, we're going to talk about the name Joe McCord on this list. They may not know who that is. And so then it becomes our job to go to the next slide and tell them about Dr. McCord. And you can read down through this. In the 1960s, he discovered the enzyme SOD. You don't have to know that it stands for superoxide dismutase. If you want to learn that, you can. Sounds good, but SOD is pretty much what they're going to remember. SOD is measured in McCord units. Kind of an interesting fact to give him even more credibility. Then it bounces back to the slide before that in 1997, he was awarded the Elliott-Cresson Medal, and it tells what it was discovered or what he discovered and what he was honored for discovering the biology of free radical reactions in living organisms. That's a lot of big words. People aren't going to understand what it is. I don't always cover it word for word because they can read it. And in a minute, we're going to give them the ABC Primetime. It's going to talk all about him. So I don't spend a lot of time on that. I do mention he was nominated for the Nobel Prize 4 times. And then he and his colleagues created Crotandem in the early 2000s. That isn't written, but just know that it was in the early 2000s. And then it was he was on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, and all these other shows did pieces on him. And then in 2005, ABC Primetime did their special. So the dates aren't on here. If you want to use them, it just throws in a little bit more information. So he discovered and created Protandim, learned how to turn back on that enzyme in 2000-ish, early 2000s. And then ABC Primetime ran their special in 2005. And then at that point, I usually show them the ABC Primetime special. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can do it with a flip chart. And then if you have a phone, a tablet, a computer, something that you can show the ABC Primetime on, you can do a YouTube search for, it's called Primetime and GNMX chart. That's the link that you're going to want to look for. So Primetime and GNMX genomics chart. If you search that, it'll show you just the ABC Primetime that talks about Protandim, and it follows to the chart at the end so that they can see the difference and the jump between his Protandim original to genomics today. Because we don't want to just talk to them about Protandim. That's 20-year-old technology. We want to show them the leap from the amazing stuff that came out in early 2000, and now we have genomics today. So that's a link that will just show that information and set you up to then you can continue with your slides. And it'll show that chart again, which you can just skip this if you've already seen it on that particular presentation. The other option, and you can write this down as well, if you're in front of a computer with somebody and you want to be the voice of the presentation to keep it more real with them, you can look up presentation June 2021. And that's a copy of this presentation on YouTube without any audio. So it just shows the slide. So you hit play, talk about the slide, or play, and then pause it on the slide that you want to talk about it, then hit play again. It'll go to the next slide and then pause it, talk about that slide, hit play again. And so you can use that, and that does have the ABC Primetime embedded right in the middle of it. So that's an easy way to do it. If you want to do the whole thing sitting in front of a computer with somebody, you can do it on your phone. You can do it, anywhere that you are. If you don't have your flip chart with you and you want to just do that, YouTube has a version that just has the slides with no talking. If you're not ready to do the talking yet, obviously activespresentation.com has that for you. Diane, can you let Jan in for me? Thank you. This one you can pretty much just point and read. It has just a blurb on genomics being the strongest NRF2 activator. It focuses on activating in every single cell, turning back the clock. The video that you just have shown them talks a lot about it. You don't need to spend a ton of time on genomics. Link, it's important to understand some of the things that Link does. There's a study that we just put on Telegram yesterday. It'll be on actives.info. It's extremely in depth on what butyric acid does in the body. It's an incredible study. It says things that we cannot. It's a really good thing to be able to look at. Don't make the claims that are in there, but it's important to understand what it talks about with Alzheimer's, with cancer, with ADD and ADHD and autism. There's an autism section on it, a whole section that talks about specifically what it does for autism. It's important to know Some of the things that we can say is it increases production of serotonin and dopamine. It helps with your happy mood, with clearing depression, with anxiety and things that are mental things that slow us down. Also increases the production of BDNF is another good thing to talk about. If they are scientific, they're going to understand what the BDNF does. If they're not, it just makes you sound good. BDNF is bio-derived neurotropic factor, I think. You don't have to know that, but it helps with brain disorders. When BDNF is in place, it helps people think more clearly and have better cognitive reaction. Also helps with the gut lining. It is the food for our epithelial cells and our endothelial cells. Another good thing to know about Link. Those cells line all of our major organs. Hopefully you're taking notes on these things. So it helps feed those cells that line the organs. It helps our gut lining to be complete and healthy so that things aren't seeping through into our bloodstream that shouldn't. When we have holes in our gut, that's when chemicals get through, preservatives get through, toxins get through. We can't avoid those things. They're in the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, and the food that we eat. So the best we can do is strengthen our gut lining so that we're not ingesting through our bloodstream those chemicals. Optimend, we need to know that it's coming from turmeric, which is known among the naturopaths and the healthy people of the world as a very, very strong anti-inflammatory that's natural. Strongest one that I'm aware of. And it comes from the breakdown of the turmeric. So turmeric breaks down to curcumin. And the only percent of curcumin that the body can metabolize is tetrahydrocurcumin. And it says that on the paper, so you don't have to try and remember that big word. But tetrahydrocurcumin is the 4 molecules that we take from turmeric to put into our Optimend. And that's the most strong part of it for anti-inflammation. And it's the most readily metabolizable of the turmeric. It's the best part that it can absorb. So our product literally is the most concentrated form of turmeric. Just some side details that you can throw in on this. They're going to be able to read the summary. Being able to give them a few more details on it is very helpful. This one doesn't have any words. So you can literally point and shoot. Picture says 1,000 words. Our product obviously helps with acne. This poor girl up in the corner, her face is just, it's such a miracle that she was able to get this product and be able to help with her acne issues. She didn't even want to show her face. So life-changing for her. Complexion, color, texture, pore size, wrinkles, it's all here. So if you want to take it the extra degree, you can learn a little bit about the purifying mud. There's an amazing tutorial on that on actives.info that talks all about the mud. I literally wanted to go out and buy 10 bottles after I heard it the first time. It's amazing. So go in there and see what moves you. What I've found, the best presenters, rather than just repeating information, they find things about things that move them internally, that get them excited. So I'm telling you what makes me excited about these products. You may be excited about something completely different. I talked to a distributor yesterday that was excited by something she had seen one of the doctors do. It was actually a demonstration. And so she wanted to pull that part of it and put it in her link portion of her presentation and use Al Zapp doing a presentation on Link as her link discussion. Totally fine. That got her so excited she couldn't wait to order more Link. So because she's excited about it, it's going to come across in her presentation better and stronger because she hit that passion point within herself. So figure out what it is about these products that excite you. I know that there are people on this call that have their own stories with Arrow. It's so much more powerful to tell your own story than to point the pictures on the page. If you've lost 13 inches, shout it to the world and let that come across in your presentation. If you've lost 10 pounds in the first couple weeks, that needs to be part of your story because it's going to come across with excitement and passion. For me, I lost inches. I didn't lose any weight right off the bat. I lost inches. My clothes started to fit better. And I love that. I love that I have a way that I can literally exchange the fat pockets in my body with healthy cells and be able to get my body healthier. So figure out what it is about the products that you're excited about and let that come through in your presentation. Timing chart is very visual. Explain it to people. This is studied in business classes at a university level. This is not something that's made up for this industry. It's very much a real process that businesses go through. They all have to go through a pioneering and a formulation period. And most companies don't make it through it. Most of the time it's very rocky. In the first 2 to 5 years, most companies fail. But if you can be in a company long enough to reach that critical mass point, and it says it right on here, you don't have to memorize it, it's 4.2 million a month, sustained, so you're doing about 50 million a year, reaches a critical mass point. And it changes the trajectory of a business. It goes from horizontal to vertical, and that's where about 80% of the company's growth will be gathered. And then it goes through that stabilization period. And you can draw analogies here. Sometimes I'll tell the story of my father-in-law. He got in, he was number 3 in a network marketing company. Today it's in stabilization, doing several billion dollars a year. He was number 3 in the company. Timing for him was incredible, but he didn't do anything with it, and he didn't build, and he didn't form a team. So it means absolutely nothing to our family. It didn't do us any good because he let the opportunity slide. So for us, sometimes I'll throw that story in because it's a good analogy, a way to work our personal into it, that we had this in our family. It didn't get taken advantage of. And today it's not any factor on us at all, other than a wish we would have, could have, should have, right? So if you've got personal stories on this, you can. Otherwise, just get excited about some part of it. Get excited about the fact that you're the first in your state, or the person you're talking to might be the first in their state. I got approached this morning by a gal that we've done a little bit of networking with in the past. She's distant family, and she came to my mind because she's in Texas, which is an area that we want to open. And I'm focused on Texas right now, looking for those people that are going to open that market. And she reached out to me and said, we just got back into the industry. We thought we'd never do it again. We're excited about this company. And I thought, well, that's ironic because I was just reaching out to you. So when she responded, that's what she told me, that she just joined another company. And I came right back at her. And it's going to come down to who's the most excited, really. And right now I'm wearing her down because I know what we have. I know where we're going. I know what our comp plan is. I know what the future of this company is. And right now she's on a train that she hopes will last, but they're going through that pioneering stage, and who knows, if they don't have the finances to be able to get through it, they're a goner. If they don't have the experience to get through it, they're a goner. If they don't have the integrity to make it last, it's not going to be a long-term project. What you want to do is get in a company like ours that has all of those things in place that's going to last a really, really long time. Harvard literally says that whatever you're making when you reach that critical mass point, you can at least add a 0 to it when you hit stability. So if you're making $1,000 a month, by the time you hit stability, you should be making at least $10,000 a month. So our goal was to help as many people hit 10,000 before critical mass as we could, so that they're making $100,000 a month when stability hits. And that's the story that I tell, because that's our personal goal. What is your personal goal? You've got to work your information into this. And if you don't have your own, you're welcome to borrow parts of ours until you get your own. You can say, we're working with a couple that's helped people become millionaires in this industry. Their goal is to help 1,000 people make 6 figures a month. And they're going to do that by helping them make $10,000 a month when critical mass hits. Then they know that they'll be making $100,000 a month when it's past that huge mass and momentum period. You can use our story if you need to till you have your own. But the faster you get your own, the more it comes from your heart, the more it resonates with the people that you're talking to. The other thing you can talk about, and I know this hits with some people, I'll refer to it here before we go on, is it did open in Mexico before the United States, so they got a head start on us. There's already people down there that are making $60,000 or $70,000 a month, and in Mexico, that's wealth beyond wealth. A lot of the people down there are just trying to put food on the table, literally, or don't eat every day. So $60,000 a month US is over 1 million pesos a month. It's crazy money for them. So if that resonates with you, then share that part of it. The fact that we can do business in 220 countries, you can talk about that if you're excited about that part of it. So whatever motivates you. With this chart, you can pretty much point and read. I start at the gray strip at the top. I talk about that we encourage the 500 package to start your business because it sets you up for business in the best way. It's the most bang for your buck. You're getting $750 worth of product for $500. But the bigger part of it is it's going to give you multiples of every product. So you can have more people on the product. The magic is getting people on product quickly around you so that if you personally don't see a life-changing thing in the first week or two, you can look at the people around you and you'll find somebody who does. Everybody's going to react at a different speed. My husband, we saw results within less than 24 hours. With myself, it took me close to 2 months before I started to see things that I recognized I could attribute to the products. So you want to make sure that you're spreading them around with different people so that you can see the response. I liken this to somebody that opens up a business but doesn't bother to put out their open sign or doesn't bother to decorate their shop and make it appealing for people to come in. They might have a little shingle that they can put out that says they're open, but if they don't make it attractive, people aren't going to come into the shop. That $500 is going to give you products so that you've tried them all. You've got product on hand to share. You can give samples out to people if you need to. I don't give whole bottles away. That's my own personal. I know people that do, but I will give 4 or 5 pills to somebody to let them try it if they want to try it. If I'm giving a whole bottle to somebody, it's because they've got one on order and they're going to replace it when their order comes in. That's a sad side tangent. But if you don't have product to give, you can't do that. So that 500 sets people up properly. And then we're doing a $240 a month auto ship, mainly because when we started, that's what everybody was ordering. That immune pack was their favorite package. The immune pack gives the trifecta to both husband and wife. It's enough for 2 people. It's saving you $100 by buying it that way. If it's a single person, they can get one of every product for that same price. And if somebody can't do that much, we still want them to try to do a 240 auto ship. They can do it by bringing in customers who want to buy product and aren't building the business, but their orders will count towards your own monthly. So if someone can order just 1 bottle and fill their requirement right at the beginning, 1 bottle will satisfy, then they can get customers to get to the rest of their 240. So this company will meet people where they're at. If they don't have a lot of money to get started, they can do it that way. It's just not the best way. So just so that you understand and can answer questions. But we start with the $500 one time, $240 a month, that's on there. I don't go through every line item on here. I do the highlighted areas. So I do the one-time bonuses and I do the residual. And I usually will explain to them, I'll ask them if they understand residual income. If they do, we're golden. If they don't, then I'll liken it to someone who has made a movie or done a, written a bestseller, has sung a song or recorded a song. Every time those things are replayed, the people make money over and over and over and over from work they did once. This business gives people the same option of getting paid over and over and over for work they did once. So I want to make sure that people understand that term. And then I just cover, if they sign up 4 people and they come in the same way you did with the $500 pack, then you're going to make $500 one time, and then the residual is $100. And I usually will explain that $100 because they kind of look at it and go, huh, that's not much. But they're going to pay that 100 every single month for the rest of your life as long as people are ordering that product. So it's $1,200 a year that you don't have to go work for anymore. You've done the work, they're going to pay you that money every single month. So I usually will draw that explanation on the first row. Second row, they're going to help the 4 people that they brought in to do the same thing and go find 4 people each. That brings in 16. Your one-time bonuses are the 570 and your residual is 250. My comment on that is usually that now your products are covered. That 250 is enough to pay for your product. Everything you make from here on out is profit. Third level, it starts to get fun because your fast start, your one-time bonuses are over $4,000 and your residual is right around $1,500. So that's enough to pay utilities is usually the thing that I throw in. It'll pay some bills, maybe make a car payment. So get them thinking about how that can apply to their life. What could that $1,500 a month do? You got to remember this $1,500 is on top of whatever they were already doing. This is side income. This is a side hustle. So the $1,500 can really impact their quality of living. If they're getting their bills paid through their regular method of what they were already doing, that $1,500 can pay off some debt, can take them on a trip. And so get people thinking. Learn the people that you're talking to. If you're doing a one-on-one or talking to somebody personally, start to try and read them. People are going to usually fall in one of 4 categories. They're either going to be an analytical and they're going to want to know all the science behind everything. And that's going to be their big focus. Or they're a charts person and they're going to love this chart. They're going to be looking over every detail. They might have questions on the chart. Or they're going to be somebody that's fun and just really wants to know, how is this going to benefit me? So then you take the $1,500 and you dream with them a little bit. What kind of a car would that buy if you had $1,500 a month? Or, could you take that trip to Bali that you've been wanting to take? Or, and help them dream and help them to fantasize a little bit of the fun that they could have. Or for people that are in the 4th category, they're usually very service oriented. Let's take care of things at home and get your finances at home under control so that you can then go and help your community. Go and start that soup kitchen. Go and donate your time, and just help them think along the things that are going to motivate them. Because a lot of people don't get hung up on the money, but they really would love to go give back to the world. So try and figure out the person that you're talking to and listen for those hot buttons to see what drives them. Usually people will tell you without realizing that they're telling you. Tell me more about the science, or, this, the system. Tell me about the system. They want to know the steps of the system. Or, I'm not really motivated by money, but I just want to help the world. I just want to make the world a better place. I don't care about the money. You can hear it when you talk to them. Or you're just looking at them. Sometimes you could tell somebody's bigger than life and they're all about the fun. They're all about how much fun it can be. And then we're talking about building a team and make sure that the 4 people that you bring in, you really like them because you're going to get to go play with them. You're going to get retired and they're going to get retired and you're going to get to go do a fun thing, go rent a yacht for a week and take your 4 besties with you. And, they're those fun people that need to see the fun in what we're doing. Level 4 is exciting as all get out because $10,000, who doesn't need a $10,000 drop in the bucket, to start to really knock out some school loans or pay off the rest of a car or take that fabulous vacation with a parent. That's one of my highlights as I look back to what has happened with us in this industry. And if I have time and I'm just telling somebody a presentation, I might throw this in, that through this industry, we've been able to take our parents on special trips. And I was able to take my mom to Hawaii. She'd never been to Hawaii in her whole life. And just a few years later, she passed. So I'm so grateful that I got that time with my mom. It's a memory I could not go back and recreate. And I'm so grateful that I don't have regrets. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we took it and just paid the money and went. So you can dream with them a little bit there too. What would $10,000 do for them? And sometimes if I'm doing a one-on-one, I'll specifically ask somebody, what would you do with that $10,000? And they're quick to tell you, I need a new fridge. My fridge has been making these crazy noises. Or they're quick to tell you, I need to do this for my dad. Or my mom has a car that's not reliable. I need to get her a car that will get her from point A to B. People are usually really quick to be able to tell you, I have this debt that I need to pay off, or I want to take this trip that's been just in the back of my head forever. And it's fun once you know those hot buttons of what they're really dreaming about, then you can refer back to them and talk to them about how we're going to get that done. The $5,000 residual at level 4 is life-changing for most people. A lot of people, that will allow them to start looking at retiring from their job, not based on time given, not based on age or seniority, but just based on the fact that you can retire if you have enough money coming in to replace the money that was coming in. It's plain and simple. So this chart is usually as far as we need to go with people, but I usually will flash to the next chart really quick, because if we've done our job right and we've taught people to do this, the people on level 4 are going to go find their 4. And when they do, your fast start bonus on that level is 20,000. I usually don't dwell on that a whole lot because I've usually dreamed with them a bunch on the 10,000. It's more believable for them to see the 10,000 than the 20,000. Most people's brains will start to shut down when this chart comes on. So I don't dwell here a long time because I don't want to talk them out of what we just talked about. Usually on this chart, I'll touch on the fact that the residual goes up month after month after month until it's crazy money. And even if we're only half right, it's still amazing. If we're a 10th right and you're making $30,000 a month, if we're only a 10th right, that's crazy good money. You can live really nicely on $30,000 a month, especially if it comes in year after year after year after year, because pretty soon all the debts are paid off. You've got everything you've ever wanted. I remember one day walking through Bass Pro Shop with my husband, and he looked around and he goes, this is kind of losing some interest for me because I've got everything. But that didn't always used to be the case. He used to walk through there and dream, and I want one of those, and I want one of those. But then we made enough month after month after month that he went and got all those things. And once you have everything, and once you've kind of satisfied all the itches, you can really go and give back to the world and make a difference. And those are the things that my kids remember about our past, are the houses that we've built and the wells that we've put in and the people that we've been able to make a difference. Sometimes personally, sometimes on large scale, but those are the things that my kids remember. And being able to give them those memories growing up far outweighs any trip to Disneyland, far outweighs any trip to the, we've been all over the place. We've been to Australia and Caribbean and Bahamas, and my kids remember going to Mexico and building houses. And that's what can start to happen once you get your finances taken care of at home and you can start to impact your community. As your check goes up, you can start to impact the world. And so if you can help people see that vision, that's the path that we're on with this company. We want to empower a lot of people to be able to have a good impact on the world. This one I usually will just touch back on. There's a car bonus. It kicks in on level 4. I've usually touched on it a little bit on the charts. Starts at $500, goes up to $1,000 a month, and pays month after month after month forever. So once that car's paid off, they still have that money coming in. They can go get another one. And we'll customize this to the area that we're in. Eric has a little group that he's been working in Eastern Utah, and he always tells them, you can go get a new thresher. You can go get a new tractor. Make sure you paint it orange and put an A on it, and they'll still cover it. In the guidelines in the back office, it says that it has to be a specific type of car and a nice car. But David Brown laughed and he said, as long as it's orange and it has an A, we'll pay for it. So let them dream. What would they get with that car bonus? The profit sharing bonus, I usually try and touch on this page because it's really, really important for me. In my past, and I tell them this, I came from a company that had a 4% profit sharing. And at $200 million, we were making about $40,000 a month from that bonus, just from the 4% profit sharing. This company does a 10% profit sharing. That's 2.5 times bigger. So my guess is that when we're a $200 million company, that could be worth upwards of $100,000. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm guessing. It's a little different split here, so it might not be exact, but if it's worth 50 or 60,000, I'd still be okay. But you can help people dream, because 10% profit sharing means that you benefit from the fast growing groups that we hear about. You benefit from the new A16 that just hit down in Mexico. You benefit from the teams that are blowing it up in Bolivia and Peru. You benefit from the teams that are opening over in Taiwan and Thailand. You benefit from Japan. You benefit from every market as this grows around the world. You're setting yourself up to get a little tiny piece of millions of people's efforts. A wise man once said, it's better to have 100 or 1% of 100 than 100% of your own. And most people are dependent on 100% of their own ability to perform. What we're teaching them is to change that and empower 100 people, and then take 1% of 100 people's efforts rather than depending on the 100% of their own. So it's a different concept for people. But what this bonus does is it allows you to take part in 10% of everybody in the company's efforts, including the company's efforts. So if you want to talk about the omni-channel, this is a good place to talk about the omni-channel. I don't in this particular presentation, but if the omni-channel is a big important part for you, make sure you talk about it. If the fact that David Brown and Ryan Thompson are here in this company, and that's a big, big deal for you, make sure you talk about it. If the fact that you've met the CEO is a big part of your story, make sure you talk about it. If you've had a life-changing effect on one of the products, talk about it. Try not to claim, prevent, treat, or cure if you can help it. The tendency is that we want to, but be really careful with that. If you're the presenter in front of the room, you want to try and not go too far with that, because we don't want to be making claims that we can't within this company. Because it's natural, we have to be careful on that. If you're excited by the trip that's coming up to Costa Rica, talk about it, especially if you're one of those fun people that wants to know about the fun of this company. I've been to Costa Rica. I'm super excited by the fact that there's people that walk up and down the beach and offer you an hour massage for 20 bucks. Best massages in the world. 20 bucks on the beach with the breeze. Oh, it's amazing. That's where I will be. It's on the beach when we go to Costa Rica. So talk about the trip if you want to talk about the trip. The promotions that happen every month, some people are super excited by that. If that's exciting to you, talk about it. My point is, figure out what the bullet points are for each of these factors that excite you and talk about them. This PowerPoint's ready for you to use. You can print it off. It's in PDF form at actives.info underneath the training section, and you can print it off. There's a one-page presentation there. I'm going to just show you what it looks like here really quick. Looks like this, and you can print this off as well. It has the timing chart, so you can talk about the timing. It has a little tiny blurb about the products, so you can talk about the products. It shows the 4 steps of our system. It shows the compensation plan, just down 5 levels. And you can print this off and carry this with you. And then you can do just a short presentation during lunch, on your break, in your break room at work. You can hand this to somebody after you've given them a presentation and they have something to take home with them that reminds them of what they just saw. So there's different tools that are already available to you if you like this format. If you really don't, it doesn't resonate with you, create your own. But remember, you need to cover all the factors in order for them to get enough information to be able to make the right decision. So if you're not ready to start presenting yet, this gives you just a little idea of what's coming and you can start practicing. If you are ready, then you can take this at whatever speed you want. You can print it out and put all of your bullet points on the back. You can write it out verbatim if you need. It's not going to come across as well because remember, it's about belief. And if you're just reading something, it's a lot harder to get the emotion to come through. So I don't suggest the reading, I suggest bullet points. That way you can remember the things you want to talk about, but you are the one that's putting the emotion and the words behind it. And then let me just tell you, it's about doing it over and over and over. I'm going to end on a story. Hopefully my husband will forgive me. Years and years ago, we've done network marketing on and off through the years. And sometimes he takes the lead with a company because I'm home with a brand new baby. And other times I would take the lead because he was running businesses and working 17 hours a day. And in one particular company, I had built it all by myself for over 1.5 years. And he came home from work one day and the guys, we ran a crew of lawn care. We had several different crews that were running lawn care for people. And one of the crews had forgot to put oil in the machinery and had burned up like 8 machines that day. And so he came home hot. We live in Arizona. It was about 118 that day. He came home hot, miserable, covered in grass, and furious with the guys that had cost him about $2,500 in burned up machinery because they missed a step. And he was upset because he had to hold the bag on that. Came home and I was dressed up. I'd gone to lunch with a friend. I'd signed her up. I'd made a couple $100. I was on a high. Life was great. And he got mad and grabbed an application and said, that's it. I'm going to help you. I'm getting out of this job. Whatever it takes, we're going to go build this and I'm going to get out of what I'm doing. And I was panicked. I'm like, what are you going to say? I didn't even know if he'd ever seen a presentation or if he'd ever heard me. Because usually I'm doing stuff away from the home or in the other room or he's asleep or he's gone. And he's like, I'll just figure it out. But he knew what I just taught you. He knew to cover the steps. So he didn't know all that I knew about the products. He didn't know all I knew about the compensation plan, but he knew enough to get through the basic steps. And he just started doing it. And I remember he went and did a meeting a couple nights later for one of my really close friends. And her husband has 2 PhDs. She's a naturopathic doctor. They're just a brilliant couple. And they had like 3 doctors there. And he went and he did the meeting for them. And on his way home, she called me. And she said, Trish, if you ever send him again, I quit. And she's like a sister to me. We're super close. And I just kind of apologized and got off the phone. And he walked in the door shortly after and he was just beaming. I did it. It was great. And I'm like, so how did it go? What do you think? And he goes, oh, I just felt really good. I thought it went great. And I kind of laughed and said, yeah, that's what I heard. And it was years before I told him what had actually happened. We were actually speaking on stage in front of about 300 people up in Colorado. We'd been asked to come in and do a meeting for one of our cross-line in another company. And I was telling this story from stage. And my point was, sometimes you have to be bad before you can be good. And if he had just started where he started, and he got better and better and better and better through repetition to where he got to the point where people didn't want to hear me present anymore because he was fabulous because he'd done it more times. So my point is, figure out your passion points, figure out what motivates you, and then do it over and over and over until you're great. And it'll change your life. It'll change your finances forever. And it will change the people's lives of the people that you talk to. So don't judge yourself too harshly. Everybody started out somewhere. And very few people start out being fabulous presenters. It's a learned skill just like everything else. So I'm here to help you figure out how to pedal on the bike. And I'm here to help you until you're ready. Eric's favorite comment is, do for other people what they don't know they can do for themselves until they know they can. So you're on this call because you're ready to be able to try it. But I'm here to hold the back of your bike until you're ready for me to let go. And when you're ready for me to let go, I expect you to wobble a little bit. I expect you to fall over a couple times, but I expect you to get back up and try again. And if it's not working and people just aren't signing up, there's probably something that we can do to tweak it. But the faster we do it and the faster you get back on the bike and go again, the faster your check will grow. So when you're ready, get on the bike. When you're ready, start doing presentations, but do it with belief and do it with what you're comfortable with. You don't have to say the big words if you're not comfortable with them. You can point at them on a page, or you can write them on the back of your paper so you remember what they are. I've written things with hieroglyphics so that I could remember how to say things. Nobody's going to see that page but you. If you need more information on the comp plan, or you want to do the compensation plan more like Ryan does it, that's totally fine. Then you write it out, or you print off stuff off of his presentation. Figure it out what motivates you, and then do it over and over and over and over until you get to your goal. It's that simple. This business is simple. It's not easy. And it's not for the faint-hearted. You're going to get some no's along the way, and you're going to get told that you're crazy along the way. I've been told I'm crazy so many times that now I laugh about it, because crazy pays way better than a job. So when people tell me I'm crazy, I laugh because it's true. I'm not going to go work for somebody else for so many hours of dollars an hour. Why on earth would I give up my hours for dollars? When you can give up a little bit of time doing something over and over and over that gets easier and easier and easier and starts to feel like a game and fun and blessing people's lives rather than work. And they pay you CEO income, and then they pay you wealth. So you're going to work harder than you've ever worked for less than you feel like you're worth for a little while. And you're going to do a lot of presentations and see your little check for a little while. And then one day you're going to realize you're getting paid what your time is worth. And the second you realize that, you're going to get paid way too much, way more than your time is worth, grossly overpaid for the rest of your life. So I tell people, if you're going to get to the top, just start doing this and get it done, and do it fast. And then you get to be grossly overpaid for longer. Last thing, and then we'll end on this. It's kind of like crossing a mountain. And when you start out, you have to push a boulder up the mountain. And when you start, you're pushing the boulder all by yourself, and it's heavy and it's big. And if you stop and you stop presenting, the boulder's going to roll back down the mountain and possibly hurt you in the process. And oftentimes it will roll back further than where it started. But if you're wise, you'll start pushing the boulder again. And pretty soon you've got people enrolled and they're helping you push the boulder too. And the boulder's going to get to the top of the mountain, and then it's going to roll down the other side. And at that point, there's nothing you can do to stop it. So your point is, you've got to reach that tipping point. And the faster you can get there, the longer you have to be grossly overpaid for the rest of your life. So learn to tell a simple presentation that's effective. And you'll know it's effective because the results will follow. People will get in. And once you find that rhythm and you find what works for you, you do it over and over and over until you find the people that are pushing the boulder with you. And then you help them learn to tell the story. Because when you're telling the story and you're telling the story alone, you'll eventually get there. But if you have multiple people pushing that boulder, they want to get their own boulder to the top of the mountain. And so they might have to go just a little bit step further. You're going to hit that tipping point right before they do, but you're all pushing in the same direction. And when you've got 10 people out telling the presentation versus just you yourself, your team grows faster. So the faster you get your team doing, don't push them into it. That's why I love this call, because you're all here willingly because you want to step into the next arena. When people are ready to step into it and take reins and take ownership of their own business, that's when magic happens. So I'm going to end with that. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording. I'm going to keep it open for just a minute. Sorry, I couldn't find the recording.